Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule with a short notice to be here this afternoon or this evening. I also want to thank CDI, the Canadians for Democracy in Iran, for helping us organize this event. Professor Rahman has a distinguished academic career with profound achievements. He has over 180 publications, including 20 books on topics such as Islamic State practices, international law and the threat from terrorism, and the terrorism and international law. Professor Rahman was born in Faisalabad, Punjab province, Pakistan, and is a graduate of the prestigious Government College University in Lahore, Pakistan, and the Reading and the Hull Universities in the UK. Towards the end of his 6-year tenure as the UNSR, he delivered an outstanding report on human rights issues, the rule of law, justice, and accountability in Iran. Today, Professor Rahman makes the first public discussion of his findings outside of the UN Human Rights Council.
So, the executions that took place also included those of women. Some of them were reportedly raped before their executions, and the executions also contained a very large number of children, minors, by which I mean people who were below the age of 18 when they were arrested, and many of them indeed were executed when they were children. In its specific examination of crimes against humanity, I have analyzed the sexual and gender-based crimes against women and girls, as well as the persecution of religious, ethnic, and linguistic minorities during the first decade of the establishment of the Islamic Republic in 1979. And what I was telling some colleagues here, that in my findings, I found that certain minorities, in particular the Baha'is, were targeted with genocidal intent. And I think that is a very important element that we have to recognize, that when a regime is targeting a certain religious minority with the intent of exterminating it, torturing people, eliminating its leadership, that has to be, in my judgment, recognized as the crime of genocide. Because we have to understand the legal definition, but also the mindset of those who were using the brutal arm of the state to exterminate a minority. And that's what I've addressed in that report.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman, and I appreciate for a really unique and excellent report. First question is, have you ever tried to go to Iran and face the actual human rights abuses for Baha'is, political prisoners, and families? Second question is, are we close to, or how far we are to take the Iranian regime to the International Criminal Court? Can we do it while the regime stays, or we can do it when it falls? Yes. Thank you.
Shall we address one by one? Okay, so the first question, the answer to that is, indeed, I have right from the day when I took over the mandate, I've been asking the Iranian government through its permanent mission in Geneva to allow me access, because that's an important part of the resolution which mandates my work as a special rapporteur. But regrettably, they have refused me access for the reasons which becomes obvious when I speak my mind. Had I been following what they wanted me to say, they would be very happy to have me. But they have refused me access, and they have, they have consistently rejected what I have said. In relation to the International Criminal Court, it's quite complicated in the sense that the court itself is a treaty mechanism by which states voluntarily accept the jurisdiction of the court. And you would not be surprised that Iran has refused to accept the jurisdiction. So, on the face of it, in that sense, it's, it makes it difficult. But also, it's more difficult considering how the United Nations Security Council, because that is also one avenue of bringing individuals before the International Court. But because Iran has allies in the permanent membership of the Security Council, that avenue is also very problematic.
Of those atrocities by a very credible international institution globally, and that's thanks to your tireless efforts in this and standing firm on this. Thank you, especially for me. At that time, 80, 81, 82, I was a teenager, and many of those who were executed were teenagers, and I knew some of them at the time. This period especially is sometimes being forgotten because the focus is 88, but sometimes people forget, during those 2 years, thousands and thousands of people, many of whom teenagers, were killed by the regime, and thank you for emphasizing on that. My question to you is very simple. Iranian diaspora community is strong, is big. How can we help you about the recommendations to publicize it, to make it practical, and to help you with those recommendations? What would you suggest that we do to help? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a really important question. Firstly, I would soulfully endorse that what happened in 1981-82 does not and has not received adequate attention, both from activism point of view, but also from a legal perspective. And I was just simply shocked by the numbers of executions. And as you say, thousands of individuals were simply executed, without any trial, without any due process, without any explanation. There were children, and in my report, as you will see, I have called that, again, crimes against humanity, but also the crime of genocide. Because what the state was doing was to killing people from a perspective that these people were no longer the followers of Islam, which they thought that they were following. See, so many of these people were executed extrajudicially based on a religious interpretation. Yeah. And actively work towards having a common front whereby we say we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which, by the way, Iran was very prominent in supporting. We have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we have the international covenants, we have an essential framework on which all political persuasions must agree. There is still a lot of hostility, as I said, among diasporic groups. We have to become united, and we say let's work towards a common cause, which is upholding.
About the stoning to death in Iran that happened a lot during that first 10 years of Islamic Republic. Also, the death penalty to LGBTQ plus community over there, which the law is still there, and we happen to see it about a year ago.
Presentation and also excellent work you have done on behalf of the humanity and of course on behalf of the Iranians. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup and shukriya.
Thank you. Of course, and I recently did a study on the atrocity crimes that took place from 1979 to 1988. And there were thousands of people who were leftists,
Yes.
communists, atheists who were executed. So there has been a tradition of left-wing
The mass
idea.
happened in 1988,
Yeah.
at least 1/3 of them very common.
Yeah, so that's really quite an interesting one. And what I have said in my most recent report is that this was genocide because people were executed based on the perceived religious ideology, and people were asked questions whether you become apostate or not.
Yes.
And if they said that I
Once-
have,
once
yeah.
and-
Yeah, and so that must be recognized as a form of genocide, in my understanding. And I have been quite shocked that so far very few commentators have taken the view that there was genocide involved. So in that sense, it's going to be challenging how you would hold individuals accountable. One avenue is what we saw in the Hamid Nouri trial in Sweden, that if you have found an individual within your territorial jurisdiction, you could bring them before a court of law. Now, again, Canada is an interesting country where there may be possibilities, and that may be a way to hold individuals accountable for having committed gross crimes in international law. But insofar as the regime itself is concerned, it would be very difficult.